It's a pleasure to be here, and I wish I didn't have to follow the Nigerians. They're on a roll. Well, it is a great pleasure to be here with all of you to participate in the Global Peace Convention. My first time to Africa, my first time in Kenya, and it's a great pleasure to be here. My name is John Warner, and as the doctor said, I've been in corporate America, multinational corporations in the Americas, Latin America, North America for all my career. So my intent throughout my career has been for making profits. So when I was asked to present on this subject of social media, I'm not on Twitter, I don't do much Facebook, but I did try to put it in the context of exactly what I do and how exactly could what I know be of value to you and to the subject. So just to put this in a context, as a global citizen, John Warner is a son, a father, a brother, an uncle, and a godfather. In terms of my community, it's Latin America, it's United States. My neighborhood is in South Miami. I work in multinational corporations in remittances. The kids go to school at Leawood Elementary. I go to the Coral Gables Congregational Church, and I graduated from Thunderbird University. So I took the consideration of building global networks and a coalition, and I said, okay, what do I know about this? And I came back again with basically nothing. So this is what I want to propose, and I need help on it throughout at the end, and I'm going to come up with a proposal to you, and I need your feedback. What I know is migrant workers, remittances. So my premise is this: the migrant worker is a business and a social entrepreneur carrying out economic activity to help family and community to improve living conditions. I'm defining the migrant worker as a social entrepreneur. And the question would be, how do we build a global coalition out of migrant workers with the power of social networks and new media for development? Basically, people leave their countries to go to work to help development in their towns and cities around the world. According to the International Organization of Migration, there's 215 million people around the world that are migrant workers that live out of their country of birth. So my premise is, imagine that as a social network, as a coalition, 215 million people around the world, like-minded people. More than 215 million people, about 3% of the world's population, live outside of their countries of birth. Remittances, the money sent home by migrants, are 3 times the size of official development assistance, and they provide an important lifeline for millions of poor households. Remittances to developing countries will be estimated to reach 325 billion in 2010. The overall economic gains of international migration for sending countries and receiving countries and the migrants themselves is substantial. So $307 billion of money moving around the world. About 80 billion of those is coming to East Asia and Pacific. Europe and Central Asia, another 40 billion. Latin America and the Caribbean, about 65 billion. Middle East and North Africa, 40 billion. South Asia, $80 billion. And Sub-Saharan Africa, almost $30 billion. And these are examples of where the money is flowing. You see in India, $50 billion. China, another 50. Mexico is the third in the world, which is 22. Philippines, Bangladesh. So obviously these are underdeveloped countries with need of development. Why do people migrate? Why do people risk their lives, leave their families to go seek improvement? Number one, poverty. That's the main reason. Secondly, lack of jobs and opportunities. Third, wage rates differentiations between countries. Fourth, conflicts and war, natural disasters, and in this day and age, it's become very inexpensive to migrate, so the cost of migration has gone down. How do remittances contribute to development? So on one side, it's individual and family, where the migrant worker is sending money home for subsistence, food, shelter, health care, education, savings, and retirement, the basic needs of human beings. And then community, through hometown associations, by working with their communities, their neighbors, infrastructure such as roads, services, water and power, lighting, shelter, schools, and hospitals. So if we look at it, there's about $300 billion being sent home by immigrants around the world, which is used basically for development. So I'm going to step back a little bit. We have 200 million people that could be considered a coalition. We have $300 billion that are available or are used for development. Some of the issues around remittances are the high cost, the fees, lack of transparency to figure out how much it costs, need for financial inclusion. A lot of time immigrants aren't banked. They're not part of they're not financially included in terms of technology, financial literacy, education. Accessibility to new technologies. There's great success stories here in Kenya on how to move money on mobile phones. And finally, as Dr. Lenigan pointed out, money laundering. Thanks for that plug. So in conclusion, we have this network of a segment of society, which are migrant workers. They're all like-minded people. Secondly, there's a potential for a global coalition. Again, a coalition of like-minded people of 215 million people. I believe these are all social entrepreneurs. They send money home to their families for subsistence, but they also work with their own communities to improve their own towns, villages, communities, etc. And finally, they're family focused. In spite of the fact that people leave their countries, their continents, they're going around the world, but there's still very strong ties to their family. People are motivated for fulfilling their responsibility to their families. So I want to go back to the initial question, which is the migrant worker as a business and a social entrepreneur carrying out economic activity to help family and community to improve standard of living. So the question is, that I put to the group, and I don't have the answer for, is how do we build a global coalition out of this group of people, out of this segment of society? How do we develop these new technologies so we can really consider what are the needs, how do we bring this group of people together through the new social media for the benefit of development. Thank you very much.